Hi everyone, welcome to SMI Hope Canada. My name is Julie, and if you're new on this channel, here I talk about everything studying and immigrating to Canada. So today I'll be talking about something that I think is very important and people don't anticipate, about. So I'm talking about expenses that people often incur when they come to Canada, both as a single person and as a parent. And I'll be talking about how you can heavily reduce those expenses. If you're interested in this, stay tuned. So the first thing I want to talk about is health insurance. Many times we don't know about it because maybe perhaps where you're coming from, you don't have to pay heavily for health insurance. So when you come here as an international student, you will have to pay health insurance. Your school will offer you, and so you have the cover, but you have to pay for it. So for me, for instance, I paid about 780 card. That was like when I came, and it increased a little bit the next year. But my PhD scholarship covered it, but I still had to pay for my husband, and we had to pay for our child. So if you have more than one child, 1, 2, 3, you have to pay for each child. I think the maximum is 3. So if you have 4 or 5, you will still pay the same with the person that has 3 children. So that's a good one, right? But that's a lot of money. Like for us, our health insurance was so for the university health insurance, that's the basic coverage. We're spending 780 multiplied by 3 because we're a family of 3. That's just for basic coverage. Now the school will mandate that you also have to get extra coverage for health and dental, medical care. That's if you have dental or vision, and it's mandatory. Like for my school, it was mandatory, so I had to pay another 780 multiplied by 3. You can't opt out. That's just a crazy thing. So I don't know how it is for your school. I cannot generalize, or for the school you're going. You might want to search and see, but most schools mandate that you have both the basic and the extra health coverage, and that's going to about 4,000 card for just a family of 3. Okay, so how can you reduce this expense? First of all, I always encourage people to come with their spouse if they have one, because your spouse can start working, and when your spouse starts working and gets a full permanent job, he or she is able to get the Ontario, that's if you're in Ontario Health insurance. That's the government health insurance. And if you are in another province, you'll be able to get the provincial, I believe, the provincial health coverage for free. So if you get a full-time permanent job, at least I know of Ontario, I don't know of Alberta, Manitoba, and all other provinces. You can check that out, but I think it's the same everywhere. Okay, so you're able to get the government health insurance for free if your spouse works. So that's how you can opt. When you have that, you're able to go to your university and opt out. Note that there's usually an opt-out date. So if the opt-out date is like December, and then you get the coverage, you get the job, permanent job after December, you might not be able to opt out. But the thing is, the option is there. So look out for that option. If you get a permanent job, if your spouse gets a permanent job rather, you will be able to opt out of it, and that will save you a lot of money. Then the next one I want to talk about is childcare. If you have children under the age of 4, you are going to need childcare to study and for your spouse to work if your spouse is around, and you'll be spending on a lot of money on that. So if your income is, I think, less than 40,000, I can't give a blanket figure. You have to go to the CIC website to put in your income for the year, and then check how much you can get for childcare subsidy. So they give subsidy, but the catch is that not all towns give subsidy. Not all towns. Like for instance, Guelph does not give, Ottawa does not give. So it depends on the town you are. I've noticed that many big towns don't give, or many big cities, but I heard Toronto gives, so I'm not sure. You need to do your research on that. Check out the childcare subsidy website of your town or your city and see if they give subsidy to international students, because most of them give only to permanent residents. But it depends. So if you are lucky and the town you are schooling in gives to international students, that will make life a whole lot better or easier. Like instead of paying, like for instance, for 2 kids under the age of 4 needing childcare, instead of paying like 2,000 something Canadian dollars for licensed childcare, you can pay as little as 500 Canadian dollars. Now another alternative, if you are the type that your town does not give childcare subsidy, another alternative is to use home childcare. So some people offer childcare in their homes, and it's absolutely legal. The only thing is it's not licensed, so you don't have that peace of mind that the government comes to check it, all those kind of things. So if the person is someone you can vouch for, especially someone that has been recommended to you by word of mouth, that they've used and is good, then you should be able to keep your children there if you're sure of the person, right? And it can be way cheaper to have those kind of people help you out with childcare. So that might be the way to go if you don't have access to subsidy. So consider all these options. There are usually Facebook groups in your, just search on Facebook for Facebook groups for childcare. You should find people offering home childcare and do your due diligence to confirm that these people are good, they are legit, they are not maybe smokers if you don't like smokers, or they are not going to expose your children to harm, depending on what you prefer. So that's it. And then the third thing I want to talk about is rent. So rent can be crazy expensive, like especially if you're living in a big city, rent can be crazy. Let me shout again, crazy. But that's the advantage of small towns. I think small towns might be better for students, but if you have family in a big town, then a big town might be better for you, because there's nothing like having the backup of a family member that is ready to help, because many people are just busy here. Everybody has their own career and everything. So for rent, the tip I will give is go on your website before coming, check. This video looks a little bit dark, the lighting is poor, but at least the message has been passed. I did it on a go in the car, so I just have to do it. If not, I won't do it, and someone might need this urgently. Okay, so for rent, check your school website and see if your school has subsidized housing. Many campuses have grad student or undergrad student, I don't know if undergrad student, but grad student housing that is subsidized. Check it and apply before coming. I made that mistake, not checking, not knowing my school has a subsidized grad apartment, really subsidized, and I didn't apply. And there's usually an end date. If you don't apply before a certain time, you might not be able to make it for that September. So we had to get an apartment. It was expensive, and then we applied in the next cycle. So that's it. Then also food. Kids don't run on batteries. If you're coming with children, they will eat. You yourself will eat, and food is not expensive here, right? But when you are coming, I find out that you might not have a lot of money, and you might want to save, and you can save a lot by bringing food from home. I did that when I was coming. I packed food, food that even with that alone we were fine. Egusi, I packed ogbolo, I packed, for Africans you know what I'm talking about, sorry, not Africans, Nigerians, I packed gari, I packed elubo, yam flour, I packed everything. So when we came here, I was able to make all of that, and then we just had to buy chicken and things like that are super cheap. So pack food, pack food. Don't go packing clothing. Clothing is just, as in, you can easily get clothing, except if it is cold clothing and you get it for cheap, but you can easily get warm clothing here. Don't go packing all your warm clothing and not pack food. Pack food, dried fish, stock fish, herbs, things that you can easily use to make food. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about is food, clothing, shelter. Clothing. I need food, clothing, shelter. That's the three basic needs of man. I've talked about shelter, that's rent, talked about food, and now I want to talk about clothing. So I see that many people, like the top I'm wearing, they just pack like this spaghetti strap or something. They pack that. Honestly, those things are cheap here. Pack warm clothing. If you don't have warm clothing, I think it might be cheaper to get warm clothing here than packing it from your country. If your country is a tropical country, if your country is a cold country, then you might have that cheap. So when you get here, for a newcomer and you don't have a lot of money, you can look for thrift stores, go to thrift stores and buy warm clothing. Thrift stores are excellent. Check it very well. Check what you're buying. Be sure you're not buying something that is bad. Once you see that it's good and there are no bugs, guys, there can be bugs. So see, I recommend thrift clothing when you're just here for the first time. Hopefully with time you get established, your spouse gets a job, you'll be able to wait even sometimes it's cheaper to wait for sales in new clothing than even go to thrift stores nowadays, right? So it depends on your city, because there are some very, very cheap thrift stores. So hopefully by that time you're blessed, you're okay. But I'm just saying, if you're a newcomer, for warm clothing can be very expensive, but you can get that really, really cheap at thrift stores. So like Salvation Army, Talis, Value Village, and all of that. So look out for thrift stores, get those warm clothing. Those things are very important. You don't want to be sick. You don't want to be sick. Sickness, you won't be able to do anything. You can't work, you can't school if you're sick, and the cold can get to you, right? So you have to keep warm. It's important to keep warm, especially if you are coming from a tropical country. You might underestimate the cold, but it really gets to you. It gets to your bones, it seeps into your bones. So I don't joke with keeping warm. I wear my socks, very important. I wear my mufflers, I wear my my hat, that's for the head. I keep my head warm, especially if your hair is kinky like mine, or if you have very low cut and cold can easily penetrate. Make sure you wear your hat and keep warm. That's very, very important. And food is also important. That's why I talked about food. You can also look out for different programs in your school. They give away food, you know, if it comes to that. You know that there are options if it comes to that. Okay, so I think I've passed across everything I want to talk about today, and I hope you've been blessed. If you like my channel, if you like what I put out there, I do the best I can. I do my videos with so much love for you guys. Please share, like, subscribe. Thank you for coming to my channel. Till the next time, bye guys.